He walked in wearing oversized shoes and a hand-me-down shirt, asking the CEO for a job. Not candy, not help, just a chance. But when the boy explained why, no one in that building was ever the same again. It was a regular Monday at Ellington Tech. Early emails, coffee-fueled meetings, and a lobby buzzing with polished shoes and corporate badges. Everyone was on edge as always. Q3 numbers were due, a new investor was flying in, and Mr. Wesley Grant, the famously stoic CEO, had cleared his morning calendar to prepare for the board presentation. No interruptions, no visitors. That was the rule. But no one expected him. He couldn't have been older than 9. A little boy with deep brown eyes, wild hair that looked like he'd combed it with his fingers, and an old backpack strapped tight across his shoulders. His shirt had a button missing at the top, and his jeans, 2 sizes too big, were rolled at the ankles. He stood at the front desk quietly, almost invisible in the sea of suits. Catherine, the receptionist, barely noticed him at first. When she finally looked down and saw his tiny hands resting on the counter, she gave a polite, confused smile. "Hi, sweetheart. Are you here with someone?" The boy shook his head. "Then, how can I help you?" "I want to see the boss," he said. Mr. Grant Catherine's brows lifted. "You mean the CEO?" He nodded. "Yes, ma'am. I want to talk to him about a job." She tried not to chuckle. It wasn't mocking. It was the kind of disbelief you feel when a child says something so grown up it almost feels scripted. "Do you mean your mom or dad works here?" she asked gently. "No," he said. "I came by myself. I need a job." Something in his voice, steady, serious, not at all playful, stopped Catherine from brushing him off. She looked around. Everyone else in the lobby had stopped pretending not to listen. Catherine leaned in slightly. "Honey, Mr. Grant doesn't usually take unscheduled meetings, especially not with—" She trailed off, not wanting to say, "kids." But the boy wasn't offended. He just reached into his backpack and pulled out a folded paper. It was an old flyer, creased, coffee-stained, advertising an after-school coding camp hosted by Ellington Tech. "My brother went to this before," the boy said, holding it up. "But he doesn't live with us anymore. I want to learn, too, but my mom can't afford it. So I thought maybe I could work, sweep the floors, do anything, and earn my way into the class." Now the lobby was silent. Catherine blinked. "What's your name?" "Jayden," he said. "Jayden Cole." She hesitated, then slowly picked up the phone. No one ever paged Mr. Grant, but something in her chest told her this time. She needed to. A soft chime echoed as the elevator doors opened on the top floor of Ellington Tech, and for the first time in years, Wesley Grant paused before stepping into his own office. It wasn't because he was nervous. It was because he hadn't stopped thinking about the odd call from Catherine at the front desk. Her voice had trembled slightly, which wasn't like her. She had said the words clearly, though she'd paused after every few. "There's a child downstairs, asking for you. He wants to earn a spot in your coding camp." At first, Wesley had been seconds from hanging up. A child? Surely this was some viral prank. A misplaced student, a marketing stunt. He had no time for it. Not today, not any day. But then Catherine added something that got under his skin and stayed there. He said, "He's not asking for charity. He just wants to earn it." Those words haunted Wesley more than he liked to admit. They reminded him of a version of himself he hadn't thought about in decades. A skinny boy from a broken home in rural Kentucky, stuffing flyers into mailboxes to save for a second-hand computer his mom couldn't afford. The kind of kid who worked odd jobs just to buy his own notebook. The kind who knocked on opportunity's door with bare hands and hope. Back then, no one opened it. That was before life had turned him into Wesley Grant, founder and CEO of Ellington Tech, one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the country. Now, doors didn't just open for him, they held themselves wide. So why couldn't he stop thinking about the boy at the lobby desk? He turned to his assistant. "Page security, have them escort the kid to the executive floor." "You're serious?" She blinked. "I am." 5 minutes later, the elevator opened again, and there stood Jayden, still in his oversized jeans, backpack clutched tight against his chest, eyes wide but unafraid. Wesley stood by the conference table, arms folded. "You're the one who asked for a job?" Jayden nodded without hesitation. "Yes, sir." "You do realize this is a corporate office," Wesley said slowly, trying not to sound condescending. "Not a lemonade stand." "Yes, sir," Jayden replied. "But someone once told me, you never get what you don't ask for." Wesley raised a brow. "Smart someone." "My big brother," Jayden said. "He used to be in your coding class. He said it changed everything for him, but he's not around now, and I want to do something with computers, too. I want to be like him. And maybe you." Wesley walked over to the window, looking down at the city skyline, hands in his pockets. Jayden stood there quietly, not fidgeting, not begging, just waiting, like a grown man waiting for an interview to start. "You know how old you are, Jayden?" Wesley asked. "Yes, sir, I'm 9. "And what would a 9-year-old do here, exactly?" "I can clean things, file papers. I'm a fast learner," Jayden said without hesitation. "And I read a book about Java. The first few chapters, I didn't understand all of it, but I figured if I was here, I could ask people what the hard parts mean." Wesley turned, narrowing his eyes. "You read a programming book?" "Yeah, from the library. It was missing the back cover, though." The room went still for a moment. Wesley pulled out a chair at the table and pointed. "Sit." Jayden walked over and sat, legs dangling off the edge, but posture perfectly straight. "Tell me about your brother," Wesley asked. Jayden smiled, a little for the first time. "Tyler, he's 15. He went to your camp 2 years ago. He built a mobile game for his school project, won some award. People said he was going to be the first person in our family to go to college." "And where is he now?" Jayden's smile faded. "Foster care." That answer was heavy, but Wesley didn't flinch. He had seen pain before, both on the streets and in boardrooms. Jayden continued. "After my dad left, things got hard. My mom worked 2 jobs. Tyler helped a lot, but then she got sick, and he tried to hold everything together. One day, someone from school called social services, said we weren't living safe. They took him. Said I could stay with my mom, but it's been tough." Wesley sat across from him, hands folded. "And you? Why are you here?" Jayden looked him in the eye, completely steady, and said, "Because I don't want to wait until someone saves me. I want to learn something now so I can help my mom, so she doesn't lose me too." For the first time in years, Wesley didn't know what to say. He stood up, walked to a drawer, and pulled out a thin silver laptop. He placed it in front of Jayden. "You know how to turn it on?" Jayden nodded and opened it carefully, his little fingers navigating the keyboard with surprising ease. Wesley watched as the boy opened a simple code editor and typed. He clicked run. The words popped up on the screen. "Where did you learn that?" Wesley asked, stunned. "Online videos," Jayden said. "Free ones." Wesley blinked. In that moment, he didn't see a poor kid. He saw himself. For the first time in weeks, Wesley Grant canceled his lunch meeting. He told his assistant to order in, but didn't eat. Instead, he sat at the far end of the conference room, watching Jayden navigate the company laptop like it was a toy he'd borrowed, not a piece of tech worth more than a month's rent in most neighborhoods. Jayden sat still, focused, not like a child playing, but like someone solving a problem that mattered. His tiny fingers hovered over the keyboard as he scrolled through the terminal, reading old code files left open by mistake. "You're not scared of making mistakes?" Wesley finally asked, his voice softer now. Jayden didn't look up. "I mess up all the time, but if I don't try, I don't learn." Wesley leaned back in his chair, his mind racing. He remembered being 11 and sneaking into the back of a university lecture hall just to hear a professor talk about systems design. He didn't understand half the words back then, but he'd listened like it was gospel. And now, decades later, he was looking at a kid, half his age at that moment, doing exactly the same thing. The office buzzed outside the glass walls of the conference room. Employees passed by, occasionally stealing glances through the window, whispering, texting each other things like, "Who is that kid? Did he really just walk in off the street?" I heard he coded "Hello World" from memory. But none of them dared interrupt. Jayden finally looked up. "Do you think I'm wasting your time, sir?" Wesley blinked. "Not even close." There was a pause. Then Jayden asked a question that stopped him cold. "Do you remember the first person who helped you?" Wesley's fingers curled slightly on the table. The question hit deeper than he expected. "I do," he said after a long breath. "A janitor at the community center where I used to sneak in and use the computers. His name was Hank. He'd leave the door unlocked for me when no one else would. Sometimes he'd bring me coffee from the vending machine, one of those cup-at-a-time things, and say, 'Keep typing, Wes. You've got magic in your fingers.'" Jayden smiled a little. "Do you think I have magic too?" Wesley looked at the screen again. A blank code editor, just waiting for the next line. "I think you've got more than that." He stood up. "Come with me." They walked past the executive offices, past departments filled with bright-eyed engineers and big salaries, past the heads that turned, unsure of who the boy was, or why the CEO was walking beside him like he belonged there. They stopped in front of a glass door that read, "Innovation Lab." Inside were rows of high-end desktops, VR test kits, hardware workbenches, and 3 developers arguing over robotics code. Wesley opened the door and nodded to the woman inside. "Sarah, I want you to meet someone." Sarah Lewis, head of youth programs, turned and raised a brow when she saw the small boy at his side. "This is Jayden Cole," Wesley said. "He's going to be working here after school." Sarah blinked. Is he enrolled in the camp?" "No," Wesley said. "He's not a camper. He's a contributor." There was silence. Then, slowly, Sarah smiled. Jayden took a step forward. "Do I really get to be here?" Wesley nodded. 3 hours a day, 4 days a week. You'll help organize, observe, and learn. You'll be given lessons from our entry-level curriculum, plus access to mentorship. In return, you show up on time and you give your best." Jayden's voice trembled, just a little. "That's all?" Wesley smiled. "That's everything." It took a minute for it to sink in, but when it did, Jayden's smile lit up the room like sunrise. He looked around at the lab, the machines, the glowing monitors, each one representing the very thing he thought he'd have to wait his whole life to touch. Sarah knelt down beside him. "Welcome to the team, Jayden." The rest of the afternoon passed like magic. Wesley watched from the observation window as Jayden sat with one of the interns, learning how to build his first real function. He wasn't shy. He asked questions. He took notes on a paper napkin he pulled from his backpack. Meanwhile, Wesley made a quiet phone call to his legal team. "I want a full scholarship created in the name of the Cole family, discreetly, and I want it to follow the kid, wherever he goes." "But sir," his lawyer replied, "without a legal guardian to co-sign." "Figure it out," Wesley said, "and find out what happened to the older brother, Tyler." By the end of the week, Jayden was showing up every day at 3:15 p.m. sharp, his backpack full of library books and scraps of code written on notebook margins. Every developer in the lab knew him. Some even brought snacks. One guy made him a personalized mousepad. He didn't ask for special treatment. He asked for answers. He was hungry, not for food, but for a future. And every day, Wesley Grant watched silently, letting the boy remind him of a life he had almost forgotten. But it was what happened the following Friday that truly changed everything. Jayden walked into the lab late. Sarah noticed immediately. "Jayden, that's not like you." He looked shaken. "Sorry, Mom wasn't feeling good. I had to wait for the neighbor to come check on her." "Is she okay?" Jayden hesitated. "I think so. But we didn't get her insulin today." Wesley, who had just entered the room, froze in place. Later that evening, as the building emptied and the lights dimmed, he stood in his office alone, staring out the window. He thought about his own mother. The days she worked 3 shifts just to buy him his first book on Python. The way she never once let him see how scared she was when they had nothing. And how she died too young, because they couldn't afford the right doctor at the right time. He clenched his jaw. Then he picked up the phone. "Get me Jayden's mother's full name. Find her records, quietly, and make sure she never misses another prescription again." "But sir," I said, "do it." Wesley wasn't a father. He'd never married, never had children of his own. But watching Jayden move through his building had awakened something inside him. Something he thought he'd buried with his childhood. Something bigger than tech. Something deeper than profit. The news came in quietly. No press release, no headline. Just a sealed white envelope on Wesley Grant's desk, labeled confidential. Inside were 2 documents. The first, an update from his legal team confirming that Jayden's mother, Carla Cole, had been moved to a private care facility, one with round-the-clock medical attention, covered fully and indefinitely by a newly formed non-profit fund Wesley had created that morning in Jayden's name. The second, a status report on Tyler Cole, Jayden's older brother. Wesley sat down slowly as he read. Tyler had been bounced between 2 foster homes over the past year. His school attendance was irregular. His grades had dipped. But one thing stood out. A line buried at the bottom of the report. Student showed exceptional ability in robotics class. Built a basic working prototype of a self-driving car using school lab parts and publicly available code. Wesley put the paper down, staring at the city skyline for a long, quiet moment. He had built Ellington Tech on data, funding rounds, and venture-backed strategy, but nothing he'd read in the last year had hit him the way that line did. He didn't hesitate. That evening, under the soft hum of the Innovation Lab's pendant lights, Wesley pulled Jayden aside. "I found your brother." Jayden froze, fingers still curled around the soldering iron he'd just put down. "He's okay," Wesley said. "He's in a group home, about 20 miles from here. School's decent, but I think he's ready for a change." Jayden's eyes welled instantly. "You mean he's close?" Wesley nodded. "I've already started the paperwork. We're going to bring him here. He'll live with you and your mom again, and if he's willing, we'll give him a part-time internship here too. Learn and work, just like you." Jayden didn't speak. He couldn't. He ran to Wesley and wrapped his arms around him, tight, shaking, silent. No words, just years of longing collapsing in a single moment of relief. And Wesley? For the first time in decades, he cried too. 3 months later, Ellington Tech launched its first youth initiative, Project Spark. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't branded with marketing buzzwords. It was real. A fully funded, year-round after-school program offering hands-on coding, engineering, AI, and mentorship to kids from underserved neighborhoods, complete with transportation, meals, laptops, and access to the same labs their full-time engineers used. The first person to speak at the launch event wasn't a VP or a board member. It was Jayden. He stepped up to the mic with a shirt that actually fit this time, a new pair of sneakers, and a small note card in his hand. "Hi," he said softly. "My name is Jayden Cole. A few months ago, I came here with a backpack, a broken library card, and a question. I asked if I could work for the chance to learn. I didn't ask to be saved. I just asked to try." He paused, glancing at the crowd. Every engineer, intern, and executive was watching. Silent. "Mr. Grant didn't give me charity. He gave me responsibility. And now I want to give it to others too." He held up his old napkin, not the one he used for lunch, but the one with scribbled Java code from his first week in the lab. "This was the first thing I ever wrote in a real coding program," he said. "I still don't understand all of it, but that's okay, because I'm learning. Every day." The room erupted in applause. From the back of the crowd, Tyler watched, standing beside their mother, now healthier and smiling, holding her sons with quiet pride. Wesley stood near the curtain, arms crossed, but his heart completely open. That night, as the building emptied and the glow of the city blinked like distant stars, Wesley stepped back into the innovation lab. Jayden was still there, sketching a new idea on the whiteboard. Tyler was next to him, helping. Their mother sat nearby, reading a novel she'd picked up from the facility library. Wesley didn't say a word. He just watched. Not as a CEO, not even as a mentor, but as a man who had finally realized that the real legacy you leave behind isn't in stock options or headlines. It's in the kid who never gave up on his future, even when the world tried to take it from him. And in the quiet answer you offer when no one's watching, "Yes, kid, I'll give you a chance." Because that chance, it changes everything. If this story moved you, share it. Because sometimes the smallest voice asking for a shot becomes the loudest one reminding us why we built anything at all. Believe in kids like Jayden. Believe in second chances. Believe in what can happen when someone opens the door.